Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in again. We're going to get started today by showing you how to automate your home for a vacation. Now, all of this is going to be based on having a Google Home in your home, and then of course from there you're going to have some of these other smart devices that I'm going to show you. But for now, on an Android or an iPhone, you go to the Google Home application, head down to more settings, and then go into the routine section. Now, from there, what you're going to do is create a new routine, and that's in the bottom right there. You can see the plus button. I'm going to hit that. And once inside of there, you do have to add a command here. And what we're going to do first is automate our lights essentially while we're gone. So I'm calling it vacation lights on. And that command doesn't really matter unless you want to use it verbally. Now, what does matter is setting a time and day, and I'm choosing all the days of the week, and I'm going to choose a time when I think it makes sense here. So I'm choosing to turn on my lights at 5:30 p.m., and then I'm going to choose my basement home speaker. That's just my standard Google Home. You could choose a mini if you wanted. And all of the lights basically will turn on that I choose here at 5:30 on all of these days. Now, continuing on, I'm going to add an action here, and that action I'm going to choose from popular actions. Now, what this gives you access to is all of the lights and plugs and some other devices that you've set up in your home before in your Google Home application. And you can see you can just click on each of them and you can turn them on. Now, you can also use scenes if you'd like. If you have certain colored lights that you want to change to certain colors, that option can be used instead of adjusting lights, plugs, and more here on the same screen. Right here on this screen, you can see the adjust scene. So I could go into there and I could choose any of these scenes that have been set up in my Philips Hue, my Samsung Smart Things, my LifeX bulbs, a number of different services here. So for right now, I'm just going to leave this. I'm going to turn on all those lights that you saw, and I'm going to scroll down and ask the Google Home here to tell me about the weather. It doesn't really matter what I turn on here. It's just going to kind of fill dead noise space in my home, and of course that's always a good thing. So you can see that you could trigger multiple of these events over the day while you were gone if you wanted to. Really, the point of this routine is to turn on my light. So there we go. I've added all of those different actions. If I wanted to, I could add media, so that's radio or music or other things, but we're going to do something a little different. Now, I'm going to create a second routine that's actually going to turn off the lights. And of course, you could create multiple of these light routines at different times with different sets of lights. And you could call them, for example, vacation lights on 1 through 10 if you wanted to. Again, I'm choosing the day, the time, and we're just going to go back here. And now I'm going to add the action, and I have to choose the popular actions again, choose my lights and plugs, and here I'm going to turn them all off. Once I've done that, again, we're going to hit the add button at the top. I could add some of these other verbal functions if I wanted to, but for now, we're going to hit add. We're turning the vacation lights off, and I'm saving that routine. So what I now have is my lights turning on and off automatically every day at a certain time. Now I'm going to create another routine here, and we're going to call it vacation speaker on. So what I'm going to do with this is basically fill my home with noise throughout the day. It won't be anything crazy. I'm just going to actually add in radio noise in the background so that if someone comes to my door, that's what they're hearing, or if someone comes to my house, that's what they're hearing. Now again, I'm choosing the basement home speaker, but in this case, you could actually choose both of your speakers in your home, and you could choose to trigger them at different times. So I'm going to click add media. I could choose music, but ultimately I want this to play essentially for as long as I can. So I'm going to choose radio, and I'm choosing a local radio station. It's that simple. Now I've got to hit add, and then I'm back on this page, and I could go ahead, I could add actions again. I could turn on lights if I wanted to, so we could do this all at the same time, but I've decided to do my lights at a different time here than turning on the radio and creating all this noise in my home. But one thing I do want to do is adjust my media volume. So I do want to make sure that every day it's at a volume that someone can hear if they come to the home. So there, I've set it to 75%, and then it will play the radio. I'm going to save that routine, and we now have vacation speaker on, and you see I named it 1. So we're going to create a second one, and of course this is going to be the speaker off. So I'm going to jump through this pretty quickly. Once I've created that, I'm going to set the same time and days, and I'm not going to add media. What I'm actually going to do is just type in a command, which is stop. And that's all you need to put in the command here. You don't need to say stop music or anything else. It's just the term stop. And I could make it do other actions again, of course, if I wanted to, but I'm just going to add this, and then I'm going to set the time and day. Now, of course, be careful that you choose the right speaker to stop. Make sure it matches the other one that you had started earlier in the day, and all of this will work perfectly. So there you have it. Now you have your lights turning on and off at a certain time, your radio turning on and off at a certain time, and now we're moving on to something that's a little deeper. Now I have a Harmony hub in my home, so I already have a routine called Time for TV, and I can just say Time for TV or TV time, and you can see the command ask Harmony to turn on the TV. Now, Harmony comes with this as a natural activity, but you can see I have a watch TV activity already set up in Harmony. If you don't have Harmony set up and you need some help around that, I do have a video on the channel that I'll put top right now. Now, of course, I have to set a time and day while I'm on vacation. So you would do this the day you leave for vacation. And so I'm just going to set a time period, and I'm going to set this later in the evening in this case. We're going to trigger this on at about 7 p.m. every day while I'm gone. And you choose the speaker, but it doesn't really matter which speaker turns your TV on and off here. So now I've added true automation to a routine I already had, which was called Time for TV. Now I'm going to open up the TV off, which you can see is ask Harmony to turn off the TV. And really, all I have to do here is, again, add the time that I want this to run and just set that time and day here. And I'm done with this routine. So by the end of this, I've got my TV running for a couple of hours here every day, and it's in the evening, and that's along with all of these other things that I have. So my TV's turning on at 7, it's turning off at 9, my lights are on at 5:30 and off at 11:30. I also have my radio on at 8 a.m. in the morning, and it's playing all day until 5 p.m. So you can see there's a lot of activity going on in the house. Now, of course, from there, I wanted to give you a few more options if you have some other devices in your house. So option 1, if you have a Samsung Neato or iRobot vacuum, you can actually use If This Then That and Google Home to schedule your vacuum to turn on. Now, of course, with most of those, you can create a schedule to turn that on as well. But the other option is actually your gardening system. So there's a couple of systems here that I'm going to show you are on ifthisthenThat.com, and you can go ahead and you can trigger those on and off. So let's go to If This Then That. You can see the different sets of devices here. The Ratio is the one we're going to focus on for today. Now we can see in If This Then That, here's a number of triggers and actions, but ultimately we're looking to start a zone. And so if you have multiple zones, you can select which ones to start on which days. And you can also stop the watering on the device. So what we can actually do here on If This Then That is create an applet that you're able to trigger with your Google Home through Google Home routines. So what I'm going to do is head up to the top right and choose New Applet. And then I'm going to choose the Google Assistant service. And then for this one, I'm just going to choose, say, a simple phrase. And from there, what I want to say is make it rain. So make it rain is the statement that I say after my wake word with Google Home, and then I'm going to choose the ratio service. Now, for the purposes of this demo, I don't actually have one of those in my home. So what I'm going to do is create a notification, and then I'll show you the demo actually working here. So I'm just going to send a notification from if this then that, and it will just say we're making it rain. Now, obviously, I could create this and then a stopping the rain applet, and therefore I would have both sides of the routine that you just saw me make with my TV, my lights, and my radio. So here in Google Home, the action I have to write is just what I wrote in if this then that. So I'm just going to add that to a routine, and again, you could schedule that however you wanted. You could start different zones on different days. All of that can be done here. So I think with all of that created, what I want to do for a demo is show you just my phone actually receiving that notification. So I will start the make it rain routine. Hey Google, make it rain.
Okay, performing action.